So when people think about the Montreal Canadiens, many players come to mind, many coaches, but their broadcast teams were as recognized and as celebrated and respected. I call them the Big Four. On the French side, we had René Lecavalier and Gilles Tremblay. Tremblay, the former Montreal Canadian defensive specialist. And on the English side, the great Danny Galvin, which I've talked about in the previous podcast. And this guy who's been unofficially part of the Montreal Canadiens universe since birth. No pun intended. So we're going to talk about the legacy and the ongoing impact of Dick Irvin Jr. Now, Dick Irvin Jr., or technically Dick Irvin III, he's a member of the Order of Canada and continues to be one of the most important living chroniclers of what I call the golden NHL from about late 30s into the mid 2000s. Now, born in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, to the very famous Dick Irvin, who was a big coach and organizer with the Montreal Canadiens for several decades, is currently retired from his full career as a sportscaster, although he does occasional freelance work. Now, in 1988, the Hockey Hall of Fame presented him with the Foster Hewitt Memorial Award for his contributions to hockey broadcasting. And in 2004, he was inducted to the Canadian Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame. Now, of the broadcasters that did national and international events from the 1950s on, of that golden era, he's the last one left. Only Bob Cole is a parallel, because Bob, as you know, did a lot of broadcasting in several sports. Now, Dick is known as an author, colorman, play-by-play man, host, and the unofficial, storyteller of the Montreal Canadiens in English. He rarely does broadcasting in French, but in English he'd be most well known for being the host of the majority of the Hockey Night in Canada podcasts, either the regional version of Montreal or the national version, which would include the Habs games on Saturday night. Now, he graduated from McGill University in Montreal, where he obtained a Bachelor of Commerce degree from what is now the Desaults Faculty of Management. Now, while attending university from 51 to 53, he played for the McGill varsity hockey team and worked part-time as assistant to the equipment manager of the Habs, the team whose father coached at the time. Now, after his career in commerce wrapped up, he decided to turn his eye to sports broadcasting. He was a media liaison for the Canadiens for several years, and then starting in '66 was the color commentary on the radio and TV broadcasts. At the time, Montreal Canadiens games were broadcast on radio nationally through the CBC network when they were not broadcast nationally on television. Usually 3 to 4 games a week. Majority of the games were home contests with some on the road. Now, he announced aside the classic Danny Galvin, and sometimes with color commentator Mickey Redmond, himself a former Montreal Canadian. From the late 70s through the 1980s, he acted as both the color commentator and studio host for Hockey Night in Canada telecasts for Montreal. This meant that he missed the beginnings and ends of periods as he moved from ice level to the broadcast booth and back. Now, Danny Galvin's nickname for Dick was Richard, even though he used his username is a diminutive of Dickinson. After Gallivan's retirement in '84, he worked as the play-by-play broadcaster for regional games for Montreal and as a secondary color commentator or third man to boot for national games. Did a lot of playoff games, did Guy Lafleur's return game to Montreal, and he also provided radio play-by-play commentary for the Habs home games that were not on Hockey Night in Canada until '97, because by the late '90s, with the advent of the internet, straight radio broadcasts were getting less and less popular, and you could listen to the TV games online through different formats. Now, at his retirement, he was the longest-serving member of Hockey Night in Canada, again from '66 to his retirement in '99. Again, different, like Bruce McFarlane, Brian McFarlane, and Dave Hodge, doing many duties and hosting numerous shows. Now, though retired, Irving still contributes clearly to the annual Hockey Day in Canada broadcast, along with other special occasional appearances. Now, he was part of the CBC's broadcast crew of the first Heritage Classic game from Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton on November 22nd, 2003, between the Habs and the Canadians. And his presence there really gave a full circle feel to the contest. Then on December 4, 2009, he returned to co-host the Montreal Canadiens' centennial pregame ceremony along with longtime French language broadcaster Richard Garneau, who succeeded Lecavalier when he retired. Now, Irving's hockey knowledge has beyond parallel. The only person I can really compare him with for knowledge is Stan Fischler. Stan Fischler, the very well-respected writer who's been writing about the sport, and his wife has been helping out too for numerous years. Now, his record for longevity was passed by Bob Cole, but he was also the sports director of CFCF's radio and CFCF TV in Montreal, a CTV affiliate. So you might as well call him not say an independent contractor, but a strong sports supporter of everything Montreal. Now, his Order of Canada came in 2013 for his contributions to hockey as a beloved broadcaster and author, as well as his efforts for charitable causes. Now, Irvin has contributed to many books and been interviewed for many books about hockey, but officially he wrote 6 books during his broadcasting career and 1 after retirement. These books are called Now Back to You, Dick, came out in 88, The Habs in 91, Behind the Bench in 93, In the Crease in 95, Tough Calls in 97, and My 26 Stanley Cups in 2001. Now, Dick Jr. continues to do a lot for charitable events for hockey, and if you start a conversation with Dick Irvin, to be no into it, because if you mention any player, any game, any playoff series, he could probably expand upon it. Now, I haven't had the opportunity to meet him, but I've talked to various Montreal Canadiens alumni, and he basically been told that even though the francophone players had the French media to rely on, they would often go to Dick and said, what do you think we should make public about this story? What do you think I should do with the media? He was training Montreal Canadiens hockey players as well to how to deal with the pressures of playing in Montreal. And there were pressures, ladies and gentlemen. You look at the Doug Wickenheiser situation, not taking Denis Savard, Patrick Roy being run out of town, the Flyers Montreal rivalry in the mid-70s, the 1970 year when he didn't make the playoffs, the media was on their backs. You see, in 2020, the Montreal Canadiens are in the NHL, but they're not God. In the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, they were God. We knew every player, we knew every shift, we were double judging and triple judging, but at least with Dick Irvin, we agreed he was the voice of the heart of the Montreal Canadiens. He wasn't really the best broadcaster, because, there have been different media that made fun of him different ways. Back to You, Dick, McLean, the famous skit about Team Psycho versus the Red Menace. But it's there. If what Dick Irvin has forgotten about hockey, no one will ever learn. And when he unfortunately will pass away, hopefully it's not soon, he got another 20 years, all that legacy will die with him. I think basically if Vulcans were running the NHL, they should do a mind meld with Dick Irvin and download all these hockey memories and experience into a big computer. Can you imagine if Dick Irvin could tell everybody what he saw and what he done? He could tell a million stories about a million stories. So that's the podcast on Dick Irvin, and this was a request from RS Hockey, one of our followers, our podcast channel. Thank you, RS, for the request. And if anybody wants to look up the Danny Gallivan podcast on my channel, go into the search engine at the top. Again, give me a comment, like, or subscribe. We really appreciate feedback, and we're continuing to build on our subscribers. Actually, our subscribers have gone up 10% just in the last month, because we're doing a lot of playoff-inspired hockey podcasts. And if you keep on listening, we'll keep on doing them. Have a good day. Bye.